20 years ago this week, the Chinese government used deadly force to break up a democracy demonstration in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. Much has changed in the 2 decades since, but some things haven't. When asked for comment on the story you're about to see, the Chinese embassy in Washington not only declined, but asked us not to air the report. Here's Barry Peterson.
When I was young, I'd listen to the radio.
Looking for democracy in China? Here it is. Millions voting on their cell phones in a Chinese version of American Idol, choosing to ignore the paradox that the citizens of the world's most populous nation are free to vote for a singer, but not for their own leader. How distant from 20 years ago, when students took over the heart of their nation's capital, Tiananmen Square, demanding reforms of all kinds, under the gaze of a statue they called the Goddess of Democracy. Attracting support from millions in all walks of life gave students the bravery to go face to face with their leaders, thinking their cause could bring change. It's a page of history written largely by coincidence. The world press was actually in Beijing to cover a summit between the Soviet Union's Mikhail Gorbachev and China's Deng Xiaoping. It is not just the students who were involved here.
Do you personally support the student?
And yet, there we were, reporting on a nation unraveling.
Are you surprised by what's happening today?
No, I'm not surprised, because people just keep silent for so many years.
China's leaders soon realized that not only were they losing face, they were losing control of the street. 20 years later, it now seems clear that what brought these people to the square was less about democracy as we know it, free speech or elections, and about more fundamental demands. In 1989, the Chinese Communist Party was so domineering, it controlled virtually every aspect of day-to-day life.
You have to get permission of your work leader to move, to have children, to get married. All of these personal freedoms were constricted.
Princeton professor emeritus Perry Link spent a career studying modern China.
And there was a sense that this party system that's been with us for 3 or 4 decades now, is holding us back. That was what really fueled that movement.
To Western onlookers, it seemed as if a new China was taking shape in the square. But behind closed doors, party leaders felt their political survival was in grave danger. And so, in the early hours of June 4th, China's hardliners ended the 2-month-old movement by killing their young. Even today, no one knows how many died as a result of the crackdown. Jeff Widener, then working for the Associated Press, took pictures through the night and came back the next day to snap one more image from a balcony.
A nice compressed shot of tanks coming, and this guy walks out, and I'm looking, and I tell Kurt, this guy's going to screw up my picture.
The result, an image now known simply as the Tank Man. Why do you think that image resonated around the world?
It's David and Goliath, you know.
Compared with the 4 tanks, the man, he's tiny, he's small, but he's powerful.
Shang-Chi is called the 4-finger artist. After the Tiananmen massacre, he cut off a finger as a kind of protest, then fled to London, where he first saw the Tank Man picture. Now back in China, his artwork mocking state power might have gotten him arrested in 1989, but China has changed just enough that today the authorities don't bother him. Still,
I can tell you're nervous about talking to us about this subject.
Yeah, but I'm still talk.
Yes. Why do you still talk then? You have courage.
Little bit.
Indeed, the Tank Man image and others from Tiananmen Square remain censored in China, as are internet sites about the events. The result, most people here have never seen this picture. What they have seen is this: increasing prosperity across their country. That's why few people expect any new uprising here on Tiananmen Square. The party eased its control over people's day-to-day lives as the protesters wanted. And in exchange for keeping its power, it let the country get rich. The deal worked. In a generation, says the World Bank, China lifted 500 million out of poverty.
If you are repressed for a long time, and then suddenly it said, okay, on this side you can go whole hog, but not this, well, of course you go where you can go. That makes sense. The hallmark of the new generation is to shut up about ideals and pursue your own self-interest.
And self-interest means letting the Communist Party rule and letting go of the dreams that 20 years ago, if only for a brief time, so many believed could come true.